This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Doug Smith here. Welcome back to Welcome to Monday. I do not have the greatest of internet connections today, so my apologies. But let's move right along here, and hopefully we can get a podcast in. By the way, great news. Since Friday, we have been deep into the data on our DNA test, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's looking great. I am just blown away by the effectiveness of this DNA test on about 2/3 of the people. About a third of the people, it's hard to pick up the DNA damage, but on 2/3 of the people, it's clear as day. We will be developing further tests to help delineate the third that we really cannot give a definitive diagnosis on. All right, so today we are continuing on with our factual causation. Remember, factual causation we divided into general causation, specific causation, signature disease, biomarker of exposure, and biomarker of disease. And we've gone through general causation, and we saw that the scientific evidence was very strong for general causation. And we've gone through specific causation, and we saw that the scientific evidence was very strong for specific causation. So next on our list is to get into the disease state, okay, that there is a disease that is specific to the opioid damage, and that's what's called a signature disease. Now, you can look there in the article by Green, Sanders, and Gold from 2016, and they give the definition of a signature disease, and I quote, "A signature disease occurs when there are no competing causes, and thus all instances of the disease can be attributed to the specific agent." Now, in our case, the offending agent is the opioids. And so what's happening to our people is they all get pretty much an identical disease. It's amazing how similar it is person to person. And what happens is when our people attempt to stop taking the opioids, when they attempt opioid abstinence, they get sick. And if you look at the disease, it is specifically what is called autonomic dysfunction. It is a dysfunction within the part of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system. That's the part of your nervous system that takes control and takes care of your organs and organ systems. And so look at the symptoms that our people get. And if you've ever been through this, you know this list better than I do. Okay, the hair stands on end. Well, that's a loss of control of the hair follicles. You start pouring sweat. Well, that's a loss of control of the sweat glands. Your eyes and nose start watering. That's a loss of control of the mucosal glands. Your heart starts pounding. That's a loss of control of the heart rate. You lose control of your bowels. That's a loss of control of the bowels. And the other thing that happens is, there's no way you would know this, and we were the first ones to ever draw blood and prove that this is what was happening, is you lose control of an organ called your adrenal gland. The adrenal gland sits on top of your kidneys. Mother Nature tucks it under the rib cage and protects it with the entire mass of your body, because what's inside the adrenal gland is adrenaline. Adrenal gland, adrenaline. Hey, it makes sense. Medically, we know the adrenaline as the catecholamines. So if you hear me say catecholamines, just in your mind say adrenaline. And adrenaline, catecholamines, the adrenalines are and there are three in humans: epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. But these are fundamental to life itself. These compounds, these organic compounds, are among the most powerful organic compounds known in the universe, and you can find them in hundreds of millions of years back in time. These are old and ancient organic molecules in the body that have a purpose of keeping you alive. Okay, walking down the path in the forest, and a bear jumps out at you. Well, here comes some epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline to speed up your heart rate and speed up your breathing and get you going. And you might outrun the bear, or you might not. Or you might at least outrun the guy next to you, who couldn't outrun the bear. And that's the purpose of adrenaline. And adrenaline has a half-life of 2.5 minutes, which means when you get a little squirt of adrenaline in your body, like when you slam on brakes because an idiot in front of you on the interstate stopped too suddenly, and you really weren't paying attention like you should have been. No texting and driving, and so you just slam on brakes. You get that little squirt of adrenaline. We all know what that feels like. Well, 2.5 minutes later, half of it's gone. Another 2.5 minutes, well, another half is gone, and so forth and so forth. So 8 to 10 minutes later, it's pretty much gone. And that's how Mother Nature controls epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, the adrenaline's in the body. What we did was we got some volunteers to come in on day 3 of an opioid withdrawal. Stop all your opioids, come in on day 3. And we drew their blood. We were the first people in the history of the world to ever draw blood on humans who had voluntarily stopped their opioids and gotten sick. That's the amazing thing. We were the first ones to ever do this. And the results were so profound that after the first 15 people, we called an emergency halt to the study and notified the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, as we're supposed to do if we find something dangerous. And so what you have here is a signature disease. Okay, so now remember, we went through general causation. There was strong general causation. We went through specific causation. There was strong specific causation. Now we're into signature disease. Does the opioid poisoning cause a signature disease, a disease that you don't see anywhere else? The answer is yes. So as we move through the evidence here for what's called toxic tort, that's a type of law. That's the type of law that proves that a substance did harm to the body. As we go through the evidence here, we're seeing incredibly strong evidence that the opioids are a toxic agent. And the opioids are actually causing a disease that nothing else causes. You just don't see adrenaline levels like what we measured anywhere else in medicine. It just doesn't happen. We've never seen levels like this before. This is a signature disease. So we'll pick up on this tomorrow. We'll continue with the signature disease. I hope my transmission came through okay today. Again, my name is Dr. Doug Smith. This is our Monday through Thursday, 1 p.m. podcast. Please like and subscribe us. Post this video, post this podcast on your social media and everybody else's social media, and we'll see you guys at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.